Hi, I'm Kent Doyle. I'm the driver trainer at Seafood Express PEI Limited, and today we're going to go over a basic pre-trip sequence that we expect all our drivers at Seafood Express to go through on a daily routine. So for example, today we have one of our new 2020 Cascadias and a 2020 utility trailer. So we're going to use those pieces of equipment and we're going to go over our pre-trip. So your basic pre-trip is going to start at home, meaning arrive at Seafood Express on time to do a proper pre-trip before you head out on the road. Give yourself time so you're not rushed. So when you get to the unit, your pre-trip is going to start before you even go near the unit. When you walk up to the unit, as you can see the roof. If it's a winter time, if there's any snow or debris or any roof damage, you're going to see that from a distance. Underneath the vehicle, if you have any leaks or whatever, you're going to see them underneath the vehicle on your way up to the vehicle. You're going to see a visual if there's any leaks. First thing, other than that, you're going to see next will be the license plate. Make sure it's on the truck and that it's registered. The other thing you're going to notice from here is your inspection sticker in the corner. Okay, check your inspection, make sure it's valid. Okay, make sure any of your decals around the truck aren't coming off. Another sticker on the truck you're going to want to be looking for is your New York hut sticker, which will be the left-hand side of the truck on your bumper. Okay, so now we'll start the physical part of our pre-trip. Open your hood. You're going to go to the vehicle over here, and there's a master switch on the floor that you're going to want to turn on. It's right here beside the seat. You're going to turn that switch on. Right there. Okay. You're going to cycle your key to the on position. You're going to hear your system loading up, which is the ABS. Okay. Now you're going to turn your headlights on. All your marker lights on, and you're going to put your four-way flashers on. Exit the vehicle at 3 points at all times. Now you can shut your key off. You do not have to have your truck running at this point to do a pre-trip, okay? So now we're going to do what's called the visual inspection. And we're going to start on this side of the truck here. We're going to work our way from the top to the bottom and from the front to the back. Okay? First thing I'm looking at here, like I said, is visual. Okay? I'm looking at the air intake up here. There's no clutter, there's no debris, there's nothing in there. I'm looking at the drip tray underneath the windshield. I'm looking at the windshield. I don't see any cracks, don't see any picks of any kind. Again, this is when I know my truck is inspected, which you've already done. I'm going to come down here to the top of the engine again. I'm going to look at my injector lines up here, the top row. I'm going to look at my antifreeze level, which is right here. Okay, I'm looking at my power steering. Okay, I'm looking at my fuel filter system back here. It's all enclosed, but I'm looking to see if there's any kind of leaks. I'm looking to see if there's any kind of chafing on anything anywhere. My air compressor is in behind here. It's hard to see, but you can also hear it when the truck's running if you lift it close here to it. Okay. I'm checking my fan. Make sure my fan is free. I'm going to check the tension on my belt. Make sure your belt is adjusted properly. These trucks are known to flip belts, so make sure your fan belt is adjusted properly. Should be able to bend it over between your index finger and your thumb, no more than 1/4 of an inch. Anything more than that's indicating that the belt's loose. From there, I'm looking at my engine coolant rad. There's 3 rads in these trucks. This is the engine coolant rad here. The next one you're going to see is the air-to-air rad. And the one in front of that is the condenser rad for the air conditioning. So just do a visual check on those. This is your fuel separator, a visual check also. Any leaking, any cracking, or to make sure your filter is full of fuel. Your power steering. Very important item here is your steering shaft. Visually check it and hand check it. Move the shaft back and forth. You shouldn't have any more than 1/8 of an inch free play. Anything more than 1/8 of an inch is too much. So now we're moving down to the power steering box here. We're checking for any kind of leaks of any kind. We're looking at our pitman arm right here. We're looking at our drag link right here, this long bar here, and our tie rod end in here that runs over to our kingpins on our axle right there, okay? We're going to come back up here. Now we're going to look at our springs, our U-bolts, our spring shackles, front and back. We're going to check our shock towers here, make sure they're not loose or broken up top. We're going to look at our shocks, make sure our shocks aren't leaking and they're in good shape. In behind here now, we're going to look at our service brake and our air lines and our ABS lines, which are all in here. Make sure everything is intact, nothing's chafed, nothing's wore. Inside of the tire, we're looking in there, everything seems to be good. No issues of any kind. Back on the dash unit, we're looking at our main air valve coming out of the firewall of the truck, where most of our air system is. Make sure everything there is intact, nothing that's obvious, that's chafed. So basically everything this side here is basically done. We're checking all our hoses, all our clamps for any leaks. If there's any leaks of any kind with the air-to-air system, you're going to see black tarnish residue. That'll give you an indication that there might be a leak. Last thing I like to do on this side, and which is very important, is check the oil. Okay, I always do the oil last because it'll be the last thing on the top of your mind. Your oil is right in here. And take your dipstick out. Keep your hand on it, keep it clean so it doesn't get up against any debris. We'll give it a wipe. There's your lines. Okay. Dipstick back in. Make sure it's in all the way. Pull it back out. We're on the full level. Okay? We'll put her back in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look for visual damage to the truck. Okay? Our headlights, our marker lights are all working. Our mirror is intact. We have nothing falling off the sides of the truck. We're checking everything here, make sure everything is secure. Okay, we're checking our batteries here to make sure our batteries are mounted good. Over here is your tank for your DEF fluid. Make sure it's secure. Your DEF fluid should be filled up every time you fuel the truck, if possible. If not, there's a gauge that indicates when your DEF fluid is low, and you should always make sure you're full before it gets down to the quarter mark. So on this side of the truck now, we're going to be going underneath the driver's side door of the bunk to check for our fire extinguisher, our first aid kit, and our triangles. That's where they'll be found. And we have all of that, so we're good to go. Now we're checking the underskirting of the truck, the side skirting, make sure everything is good. Bunk extenders, everything is good. Gonna come around the back of the truck. Gonna check your air lines. Rubbers are on my lines. The visual inspection of my lines. Nothing looks chafed, everything looks okay. Okay. Fuel cap is on. Tank is secured. Step secured. Deck plate. Rock guards. Now we're going to check our tires. As I said in the previous video, make sure your tire depth is good. If you don't have a gauge, see Eric or myself, we'll give you one, okay? Checking your tires, always make sure you have a tire buddy or a hammer. You know, just a basic foot, the work boot kicking it doesn't really do it. So give it a good smash. You can tell by that sound the tires are fully inflated. Okay? You have dust shields on here, okay? Realistically, it'd be nice to see drivers take these off and check. Some of these trucks don't have these on, the majority don't. So if they don't, have a look at your wheel lug nuts. have a look for color, discoloration, and any kind of cracking that could be going around your lug nuts. The ones that are open and exposed, we have the red grommets that go around the lug nuts that will tell you if a nut is loose, because they will break. Same as on the trailers, we have them also. So back in here, you're going to be checking your airbag, you're going to be checking your shock, and you're going to be checking your spring. Okay? And in here, you're just going to do a visual check of your brakes, your ABS lines, your U-bolts. In here, you're going to have a look at your air lines, your torsion bars, and anything that might look like it's out of place. Make notice of it. Okay? Now you're going to check the operation of your fifth wheel. You're going to make sure your pin is out and it's free. You're going to make sure your fifth wheel pivots on its shoulders. Which it does freely. Okay? Always make sure your fifth wheel is in the right spot. Okay? There could be somebody driving this truck before you. They might have the wheel ahead, they might have the wheel back. Make sure you have the fifth wheel where you want it, usually in between the two huck bolts over the suspension arm, mid-frame, which is right here. Okay? Now we're going to go to the back of the truck. We're going to be checking for our mud flap hangers. Be checking our mud flaps. We're going to be checking our back lights. Now on this side of the truck, we're going to do the same thing, but up on this side, you're checking your mud flap hanger. You're checking your mud flap. Again, you're checking your lights at the back. You're checking your airbag. You're going to check your tires. You're also going to be checking your wheels inside if you don't have the guard on here. Well, these trucks here that have the guard on, if they have them on, it only takes a second. Spin her off. There, you're off. Now you can check your lug nuts. Make sure you get nothing going on there. No discoloration, no rusting, no cracking of any kind. And if you get any kind of an oil leak, you're going to see it dripping right here on the inside of your rim. All right, you're going to check the outsides of your tires for any kind of cracks. You're going to check the inside of your tires here to make sure there's nothing stuck inside your tires. You're going to check on the inside of your tires to make sure there's nothing cracked in there also. So again, checking your tires, rock guard in the back of your bunk. Make sure your low bars in the back are secure here. Okay? Back fairing, lower fairings, fuel cap, underside. Okay? Always check under your bunk, make sure you have the proper fluids that you need for when you're on the road. Antifreeze, oil, windshield washer, fifth wheel grease, and an important thing in the wintertime, air brake antifreeze. And it looks like we're well equipped in here. Okay, this is important stuff you're going to need on the road. So, shouldn't probably leave home without it. Checking the side of our truck for any kind of visual damage, anything that's broken or maybe hanging off. Okay, nothing up here. Checking the glass in our truck, make sure it's good. We're checking the glass and we're checking our mirror, make sure everything's okay there. Checking things here. To the front, checking our front tire. We're looking at our front tire, make sure there's nothing broke or discoloration of any kind. Front axle hubs, okay, check them, make sure you get oil in them. All right, there's a level mark on there. You want to make sure you get oil in there. Okay, inside of your tire, you're looking for cuts. Anything that's broken, tread depth, we're looking for that also. Make sure your tires are good. Same thing on this side. Service brake, ABS, and the air lines. You're looking at your spring, you're looking at your U-bolts, you're looking at your shackle hangers, you're looking at your shock tower, you're looking at your shock for any kind of leaking. Up on this side of the truck now, you're looking for a visual on your windshield washer. Checking any kind of hoses and clamps that might be loose here. There'll be discoloration there also. There's your fan. And again, there's your belt. It's good and tight. Your turbo in behind here, make sure everything's good there, and your clamps are on your turbo. Again, another visual leak up here in the front of your rads. This is your air dryer right here. Now we're going to check our lights in the truck. Everything in the back's working, everything in the side's working, up top is working. Close our hood. Now we're going to check our high beam lights, make sure they're working. and our lights are working. We're going to open our hood and we're going to do a crank check on our pre-trip. We're listening for here is any kind of a weird noise, anything that might be leaking in the truck once the truck is running. Okay, make sure your truck is in neutral. Make sure your park brake is on. Make sure your foot's on the brake. You want to cycle the key once. Make sure your instrument, your cluster panel comes up. And you're going to start your truck. Check the other side. There, everything is okay with our engine start there, and there's no odd noises. So we're going to close our hood and secure it. Make sure your hood is secure. It's all the way down. The bottom hook is hooked, and there should be a hard snap up. Hood is now secure. So now we're going to cycle the key. So our instrument panel, the cluster is going to reload. You're going to listen for the ABS, which just clicked off there a few minutes ago. Always make sure your ABS is in proper working order. There's a light on the dash to tell you, and there's a sequence electronically that you just heard. That's also telling you that's working properly. Another quick fact, make sure you're logged into the device before you move the truck. That's very important. Make sure you're logged in before you move. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick visual inside. The glass is good, our mirrors are good. You know, you're just checking your seats. You're checking the overall function of the switches on your truck. You know, your air ride operation, your differential locks, your fifth wheel slide, your creep mode. Creep mode is very important when you're backing in somewhere so you don't hit a dock hard. Put you in a slower mode, so use your creep mode. Okay, spike operation is free. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do a brake check. We're going to start the truck and we're going to do a 4-point brake check. We're going to do a leak down test. Leak down test is you're going to build your air up. You're going to shut your truck down. You're going to hold your foot on the brake for a period of 30 seconds. You're going to listen to see if there's any leaking of any kind, and you're going to see if your pressure drops 4 psi in that 30 seconds. Okay? Let's get started. There's your ABS again. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tractor protection valve. With the brakes on in the truck, I'm going to try and move forward. There, and the brakes are holding, so we know the tractor protection valve is working. Now I'm going to let the brakes off on the truck. I'm going to do a foot valve test, make sure that the foot valve brake's working. And the truck's holding. So those are the checks here. Now we're going to do a leak down test. We're going to bring our air pressure up, 120 psi. There, 120 psi. She blew off on the air dryer. We now shut the truck off. With our brakes off, we're going to hold down on our foot valve. And we're going to watch our air indicator to make sure it doesn't drop any more than 4 psi. And we're listening for any audible air leaks, which I'm not hearing. And I'm not seeing drop in the gauge. Take our foot off the brake and then we'll apply our brakes. Okay. The other thing we're going to do lastly in here, the in-cab, is you're going to check for your permit book. Make sure your registration, your insurance, and your inspection is all up to date. And it should be in your black folder right here. Okay, usually in the back seat behind the driver. Other thing, fuel cards. Make sure there's fuel cards in your truck before you proceed. So that is the completion of a tractor pre-trip. Now we're going to do a trailer pre-trip.